This is Chuck Bauer with Hawthorne Services, and today I'm going to act as a supervisor and show you how to work on an employee self-assessment and prepare your own performance review to forward on to your one-over-one manager for approval. So, in this case, my employee Lisa Brown has completed a self-assessment, and I've received an email notification about this. I'm going to go ahead and click on this email. It was an automated system email that she's completed her self-assessment. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this link, which will allow me to log into the system. I'm going to log into the system as her boss, Peter Jones. And from here, it took me directly to Supervisor Overview rather than the dashboard because I clicked the link that brought me to this point. Lisa is listed first. There's two review documents. You can see there's one for 2015 and one for 2011. I'm going to click on the review list, and I see that her most recent self-assessment is there at the top. Note that I could add a new employee review with this button if she had not done her self-assessment and I was simply going to rate her myself. I'm going to go ahead and click the edit icon here for this self-assessment. I'm going to bring up the whole performance review application. This shows her self-assessment plus the capability for me to add my comments and ratings. And I'm going to scroll this down. There are some instructions at the top. And then note there's a performance review view and print link here that I can use, that if I want to print out the review, I can. It's a 2015 annual review, and I can choose the review type from the drop down, and it has the time period for the review as an annual review. I see what her position is as purchasing agent, and I see her comments regarding her progress since the last review. If I go further down in here, I can fill in my overall evaluation for the review and my belief of how she's improved or not in terms of the trends since the last review. There's also a place to add files, which would be attachments that would relate to this review. I have already done some work on this review, and that's why you'll notice that there is an overall trend there, and you'll notice that there are some scores up here because, again, I've done some work on this review. Now, as I go further down, you can see the date and the time that she submitted the self-assessment to me. And right here is the checkbox to send for one-over-one approval that I'll check when I'm ready to send this. As I go further down on the review, I can see there are no talent development entries. She has nothing open to work on in her professional development. And I see goals and objectives listed next. So as a buyer, she has some goals and objectives specific to that position in purchasing. Each goal is listed here, and there are her comments along with her self-assessment rating. I had already brought this up and done a self-assessment rating, and you can see I included that I believe she also met expectations. And here is where I would type in comments related to that, my assessment of meets expectations. I'll complete each of these sections as I go down the page, putting in my ratings as well as my comments. And some of these, of course, as I mentioned before, already have ratings. After I'm done with that section of goals and objectives, there's an accomplishments section. She's put in one accomplishment that was above and beyond her goals and objectives, which was a transition of office supply procurement. And she rated above expectations. I've rated above expectations. And this is again where I would put in comments. She did not have any comments listed here. So each of these sections are much edited the same way. I see her self-assessment first with her rating and her comments. And again, my rating and my comments where I can type below. If I wanted to save a section at a time, I could do so. So if I want to save the objectives section of this performance review, I can click this button and all of those will be saved. You'll notice that there's some color coding here in green, red. There could be green, red, and yellow color coding that is used. So that section is now saved. And as I go down to accomplishments, I can do the same thing. I can save these a section at a time too. Now, the next section on this review is organizational values, and it is edited in exactly the same way. Your organization may not have organizational values. It's optional. There's also a core competencies section, and that would be competencies that are specific to the job or the position or the department that she works in. In her case, it might be things like negotiation or cost management, those kinds of core competencies. Here I'm going to fill in, again, using the drop-down ratings. I'm going to fill in what I think she's done in terms of ratings, and I would fill in comments. If she made comments, they would be listed here. My comments are entered here. Again, I can save the whole section one at a time, or I can actually save these one at a time by clicking on that box. And if I wanted to re-edit this, I could click on this edit box right here, and it would allow me to re-edit the whole thing, although it would redisplay the form back at the top of the page. So when I'm done, I can save this section. Then I'll go back to the very top of the page where I have Save All Sections. Now, I don't have the checkbox for 1/1 approval checked. So I could go ahead and click Save All Sections, and then I can come back later and continue to do some more work on this performance review. And then when I'm done, I'm going to make sure that I send it to my 1/1 manager for approval. So I would check this box and then click Save All Sections. And I'm going to do that right now. So that's how I've completed her performance review. That will send an automated email to my 1/1 manager, Oliver Operations, for him to review the performance review and either approve or disapprove with comments. I was returned back to Supervisor Overview, where I can continue on with any other work that I have in the performance system. Thank you for tuning in for the Hawthorne Performance System.